Now, the power space has obviously been in focus since a while, and we'll try and touch upon a slightly unique power player within the Indian power landscape. But we're talking about Rishabh Instruments. Let me give you a bit of context on this company. The stock has done very well for itself. You look at the last 6 months' performance, stock is up 81%, seen very strong returns. So what's playing out at this point of time? In terms of the background, Rishabh Instruments was incorporated in 1982. Currently has a market cap of around 2,500. It operates in the electrical instruments and industrial automation space. We'll try and give you a better perspective. It also operates in solar, aluminium die casting. Data center is also one of the levers on which it will rely on. There's no linkage of the company to any large Indian conglomerate, but at the same time, the promoter holding is quite healthy, and therefore it's a promoter-driven company. Let's talk a little bit about the story. So try and understand this top-down, right? Every factory obviously runs on electricity, but electricity must be measured, right? There has to be a control over it. Wrong measurements can damage expensive equipment, and that's exactly the kind of instruments that Rishabh Instruments manufactures. Power failures, in case they shut down the entire plant, have to be tracked and monitored, and therefore they build instruments to measure, monitor, and protect the industrial facility. It also manufactures precision aluminium parts, and that's just one of the components of the business, an ancillary of the business. So the way to think of this is one business is selling intelligence, which is systems which are allowing the factory to monitor the way in which power is running all through the factory, and the other one is building hardware technically. So it serves factories, utilities, OEMs, and renewable energy companies. Really, that's the broader context. Now let's talk about business verticals. The first vertical is the electrical and electronic instruments vertical, which is evidently what I spoke about, and the other one is the HPDC, which is high pressure die casting business. Let's talk about EI, because that's a predominant part of the business, 80% plus in terms of top line contribution. What this is about, it's the core business, it's the business driver, profit driver. Here they design products that measure, monitor, and protect electrical systems, and they also are an export-oriented business with global certifications that Rishabh Instruments has. With regard to the HPDC, this is basically a precision aluminium die casting components manufacturing unit that they have. They supply compressors, industrial automation equipment. They provide manufacturing diversification beyond electrical instruments per se. And what this provides is it also provides relationships and a bit of a moat, where there is a dependence on Rishabh Instruments, even for the HPDC, which is a complementary kind of a business. What Rishabh sells in terms of the EEI business, let's first talk about that. Panel meters. These are basically measuring meters for power and frequency. There's a dashboard of an electronic panel, which is what panel meters is all about. Then there's multifunctional meters, one device replacing several individual meters. This basically measures multiple electrical parameters simultaneously. Then there's current transformers. This reduces current changes, and there are levels which it can measure as well. It's essentially for safe metering and for protection. Shunts. Now what shunts does is it allows accurate measurement of very high voltage currents. This is used in the current transformers, where the current transformers are actually unstable. Shunts are used for that. Power quality analyzers, these basically detect harmonics, voltage fluctuations, and power disturbances. It helps industries avoid equipment failures in case of a power shutdown. You're looking at protection relays, which detect electrical faults, because one could be a power shutdown, another could be a fault. Both need to be catered to. They automatically disconnect and disengage any equipment which is damaged. So that's what protection relays are. Genset controllers, then they control diesel generators, protect engines, manage power generation. Synchronizing units, basically multiple generators are synchronized more safely, and for that this particular product is used. Then there are several other products, frankly. There's rotary camshafts, there's test and measurement instruments, and some of these themselves kind of are self-explanatory. There's energy meters as well. What they also do is solar string inverters, which is, excuse me, they convert
solar DC power into usable AC power, and they serve commercial as well as industrial solar power projects. You're also looking at energy management software, which actively tracks electricity consumption, identifies wastage, and improves efficiency. There's SCADA software, which monitors entire factories from one control room and connects everything real time in terms of operation data. And then you have EMS, which is they manufacture electronic assemblies for other companies, providing contract manufacturing services. So all of this is what they do. Along with it, they also have the aluminium die casting business, which is HPDC products. So one is the die casting business, then there's machined components, there's surface treated castings, there's tooling and molds which they provide. And just to kind of get a sense, what are the kind of customers that come to Rishabh? This is 20% of the business, by the way. What are the kind of customers that come to Rishabh? There are electronic panel manufacturers, industrial automation companies, power utilities, machine builders, renewable energy companies, OEMs, data center companies across the world. So you've got all of those. How the business makes money? Well, they basically manufacture in-house, design in-house, and sell via distributors and OEM relationships. Why customers stay is because electrical accuracy is critical, therefore they need it. Also, long-term customer relationships is what they are trying to build over a period of time. Let's also now look at the financials, and this is where we'll start to see how the story has played out in terms of numbers. Excuse me for that. Revenue has grown at 11% on a 3-year CAGR basis. It's been largely flattish from the last 3 years. The pickup happened in FY24. When you're looking at EBITDA as well, margins have actually been quite choppy. As new businesses have come on stream, there's been a bit of choppiness on the margin number, but hopefully going forward, the guidance is that margins will get more and more stable. We'll obviously get a perspective from Mr. Musalekar, who will join us. He's MD and CEO. In terms of net profit, there's been a growth of 18%. Again, the base for FY26 has been readjusted now, given that there was a slightly low base at which they were operating. FY25 was a tough year. The recovery has come through in FY26. We're looking at the balance sheet. Excuse me again. Looking at the balance sheet, first the margin trajectory, if you see it. Can we go back to the margin trajectory, please? So you'll see that there's been some choppiness, 7% margin in FY25, which has now rebounded to 16.5%. Just to give you perspective, the EEI business, which is the electronics business, does a margin of around 20 to 25%, so very healthy. But the aluminium die casting business does a zero margin at this point of time. FY27 is going to be a break-even year from margin perspective. So as that uptick happens, you'll likely see this that uptick reflect in the margin number going forward. That's just something for context. Look at the balance sheet now. 745 crore is where the book value of the company is. So it trades at about 3.5 times book at this point of time. The borrowing number is low. It's at 75 crore, so no concerns there. Balance sheet looks clean in terms of growth. 202 crore of cash balances, by the way. They acquire companies, sometimes in Europe, to build a presence, to build a foothold. Excuse me. Let's look at cash flow now. And the cash flow from operations has been healthy. Last 3 years, you'll see 100% plus. Of course, FY26, you've seen a bit of a dip, but no concerns per se. So you're seeing a decent conversion of cash flow into EBIT, from EBITDA into cash flow. ROC numbers, they were healthy. FY25 was a tough year where it sank a little bit, but it's come back to the 14% number. Can it go above 14? That's really the question. There's a new facility coming up in Nashik. There's a larger European presence playing out. Maybe all of those factors start to play out on the ROCE numbers as well. So we'll try and analyze or try and get a sense as to what this holds in terms of a number going forward. But 15% is something which is comfortable from an Indian market standpoint in terms of ROCE. Look at shareholding pattern, 69% owned by the promoters, no concerns whatsoever there. There's 1% FII ownership, 11% DI ownership, and public holds the balance. A thumbs up, just given the fact that there's large skin in the game for promoters. Now let's talk about valuations, and this is where it gets a little bit interesting. What we've done is we've mapped out the next 2 to 3 years of growth ourselves based on the commentary given. So a 20% growth has been penciled in on the electronics business, and probably slow to no growth has been penciled in on the HPDC business. So what we've therefore done is we've mapped out a 16% growth number for FY27, FY28, and FY29 on a conservative basis. That's what we've tried to do. Margins which are already at 16, we've left it at 16 for FY27, which is likely to inch upwards, by the way, as the HPDC business becomes margin neutral. FY28, we've improved it by 1%. FY29, we've improved it by another percent. We factored in around 20 crore net of other income, interest and depreciation. So 20 crore expense recognized. Thereafter, post taxes, the PAT will come on your screen in just a minute, and thereafter we'll give you the P and the comparable ratios. So PAT stands at 85 crore in FY27 versus the much smaller base of 82 crore in the last year, or rather much larger base of 82 crore in the last year, 109 in FY28. So that's where you start to see the kicker, and 137 in FY29 as the margins begin to improve. So really the kicker here is growth may be at 16%, that's okay, but margins could well be the kicker going forward. So we'll try and understand how that plays out. The market cap on your screen, around 2,500 crore, and therefore what you're seeing in terms of price to earnings is around 29 times, and between 23 and 29, between FY27 and 28 broadly. So if margins come in at a slightly better trajectory, FY28, then it'll drop to 23 times, or rather FY27, then it'll drop to 23 times in FY27 itself. It's really the margin number which will be the real kicker. And it'll drop to below 20 times by FY29. We'll try and get a perspective as to when this happens. And let me bring on board Mr. Dinesh Musalekar, who's the Managing Director and Group CEO at Rishabh Instruments, joining us. Great having you here, Dinesh. Let me first start off by...
Thanks for having me here.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Great having you here, sir. So let me start off with the order win that that one of your subsidiaries has won from Germany. Talk to us about the significance of it. Is it an existing client, new client? Does this add confidence from a European growth perspective for you?
Yeah. First of all, thanks for giving that elaborate perspective of our story. And I mean, you've done a lot of analysis on our company. Thanks for that. And as you could see, that there are a lot of positives that are coming up in the recent time, and that will continue to grow. Coming back to this particular question about the project that we won it in 2 years ago, the first time, which was 50 crore business, a single order to supply in about 18 months to 2 years time, which we did in 18 months time. This is, like again, if you look at the DNA of the company, we are a very research-oriented company. We understand the practical problem, and we find a solution much faster than most of the larger companies in our industry. So that's where being a mid-sized company comes into play. And we found a solution which is for German distribution network, and we were able to take this product from board to execution in about 3 to 4 months time, and we supplied all of that, and customers is extremely happy, and we had a repeat of this project again for the second time for 30 crores. So that's been a good story for us in spite of whatever economic conditions we have. But if a company has fundamentals very strong to identify and solve the practical problems to take it to the next level, so we always find businesses.
What places you in a unique spot? Is competition strong in a space like this, especially globally? Are you better placed versus peers globally? Could you give us a little bit of global context? Because as growth kicks in for you, the global angle will also be important, as equally will be the India angle, that you're guiding for 20% India growth as well. So give us a sense.
Yeah, absolutely. The USP for our company is we are large enough to have our own several R&D setups, laboratories, manufacturing. We have everything that a large multinational corporation can have. But we are also humble and small enough to be very flexible, very fast to the market, to come up with product solutions quickly. That puts us in a very unique spot, even though we compete with some of the large names in our industry, and also some of them are at the same time our customers also. We cooperate with these companies in some areas, and some areas we also compete. But this unique combination of having R&D setups in Poland, in India, in China, several of them. That really helps us. For example, if you take this case, the R&D team which is in Poland is closer to Germany, and we are able to understand the customer needs much faster, much better, and help to solve that problem, and again improvise the second time when we supplied this next batch of 30 crores, which is the next version of that. So it's always a continuous improvement which happens in the product, and understanding the needs of the industry puts us a bit ahead of our competition. And generally, if you talk about the growth drivers for us, come from two basic areas. One is infrastructure development, which are happening in countries like India, Middle East, where there are a lot of data centers or upgradation of rail network or energy network, all those things which are happening. So that gives us a lot of growth perspective. And in some of the countries like USA and developed countries where energy efficiency, saving manpower cost, energy cost is so critical. And in your presentation, you also talked about it's not just about the quantity of energy, also quality of energy, and how that is very critical to protect or damage a large equipment. So these are all very smart products which have much bigger consequence in the project per se. In the whole panel may be about $1 million, $2 million, and our product may be typically anywhere between 100 euros to 2,000 euros. So based on what we are supplying, so that can have that can make this whole 2 million euro product either work efficiently, very reliably, or not work at all. So that's where we play a very interesting role. And as you presented in your presentation, we have a wide range of products which complement each other, and we as much as we have backward integration in our manufacturing and design, etc., we also have kind of a forward integration when it comes to giving solutions. It's not just the product; we bundle them with SCADA software, and we can understand customer needs, modify the product to add more value, so that it is a solution than just selling a product. Which end of the day, what matters to end users is how good economic sense our products and solutions make. So that we have at the center of whatever we do.
Correct. Give us a sense, Dinesh. What is the current what's the current order book size looking like, and how quickly do you execute that in terms of timeline?
Yeah, so this electronics business, which you very rightly pointed out, that we have got this electrical and electronics instrumentation business, where cycle time and lead times are very critical. So what we have is we generally have a forecast. So we do a lot of market research, and we know how the industries are shaping up, including energy industry or data centers and buildings and infrastructure, all of that. So we get a sense of the forecast of project pipeline, and based on our historical data, we know what is the success rate or conversion rate of our project pipeline. That becomes a funnel for our planning and execution. So from those project pipeline, the next stage what we have is the order book. So order book typically is about 10 to 20% of our project pipeline, and that converts into about 1 to 3 months of orders. So normally 1 to 3 months of orders we have in advance in electrical side of the business, and our whole material planning, everything happens based on that, and it keeps on rolling. So the growth perspective which we give is more based on our project pipeline than order book. So of course there are exceptions where you have this first order which we spoke about. So it's one order which is going to be executed over a period of 18 months, and second one over a period of 12 months to 18 months again. So we have got some orders where we have because our route to market is also both through distributor channel as well as OEMs. When it is to OEM, it's about 50-50%. OEMs sometimes give a longer forecast and longer order book. But whereas the distribution is more like coming and going. So most of our products, our lead times are like 1 to 2 weeks. So that's what the industry wants, particularly going through the distribution network. So we do a lot of prognosis of what we have and project this one, and we have to keep this going on. So the real value add comes in. Yeah.
Yeah, Dinesh, just want to start running the numbers now. You're at roughly 800 crore of top line. 70%, if I believe right, is from the electronic segment. The balance is from HPDC. How quickly do both of them grow? Just give us a perspective, FY27, FY28.
Okay, so as we have told to all our investors in our meetings that we had investor, earnings calls. So the electronics business, which is around 540 crores, which we did last year. So our guidelines are around 22% top line growth. But what we have also focused a lot in the recent years is on the bottom line. So we are doing a lot of automation when it comes to production and cost optimization by reducing the cycle times, raw material, alternate materials, a lot of things we are doing. So our margins have improved there. So that growth is going to be, you can say 20% CAGR for next 2 to 3 years. This is very clearly we see on the base of 540 crores, which we had last year. And on the die casting side, 2 years, there are two snapshots. One is if you look at 2 years prior to what we are talking now, so prior to 2023, we were generally running about 20%, 25% CAGR on that business, and profits were also there. Then we had this big crisis of EV car industry in Europe. So we had 50% of our automotive business, and many of them were connected with EV cars. So we decided to, we tried to engage with our customers for price increases because the costs went up substantially, which we did not succeed in, and we had a time frame of one year to 18 months to phase them out. So our focus is on getting that to a zero profit business, which we did last financial year. Before that, we had about minus 7.5% of loss on that top line. So that business, which was around 238 crores, we are trying to moderate it around 200 to 220 crores with not adding any losses to that. So that's work in progress. So it is going to take 1 more year. At the same time, what we are doing is we reduced about 40% of our non-profitable business, and we're refilling it. So there's a lot of work which our team in Lumel Alucast has done over the last 18 months. The only thing is the gestation period for getting some new customer on board is longer. So we are really at a good stage of negotiation with all of them, and they'll come in place. So we need about 4 to 6 quarters to get that back. So this financial year, we are not full of growth. We, in fact, want to be focusing on the bottom line, not to bleed the electronic profits. And from there, we should be growing a modest, 10 to 15% from there with a double-digit EBITDA. So about 10, anywhere between 10 to 15 is what we are looking at as a EBITDA percentage for that. But electronics business, our EBITDA has been around in excess of 22 to 24%, around that range, and that is sustainable. So that's where the growth and profits are coming for the business, and that we are expanding by product penetration and market expansion. A lot of activities are happening there. So that's a significant driver for the group.
Correct. Yeah, the solar inverter space also. Enough on the top line, sir. I want to talk a little bit on the margins and on the capex. Your Nashik facility comes up in Q4 FY27. Your current capacity utilization is 62%. Any reason why you're putting out capacity despite capacity utilization not inching upwards? Could you give us some perspective or some color on that?
Yeah, so see, our business is a bit different from any process industry where you have got a capacity, use it 100%, and then you put another plant, and like for example cement plant or any rolling mill or those kind of things. But whereas our business has got a lot of activities. So you have SMT lines, you have got THT, and then you have got calibration, then you have mold making. So many different things are there. So one of the things which we need is a space. So space is something which you can't create every year. So you create a space for keeping next 4 or 5 years in mind. So what we are doing is we are building these two multi-storied buildings, 6 and 7 storied buildings in Nashik at 2 locations which we already have. So those are not going to be 100% used immediately. And there we keep on adding more, SMT lines and production lines, and there will be incremental investments to increase the capacity. So some of the spaces we had already reached 70-80%. That 65% 62% which you said is a average altogether. But some operations like we make plastic housings for all these instruments, so that we had run out of space, for example. So SMT line space we had run out of it. So a lot of those things, it's like not like a line balancing, but some activities were almost close to 100, somewhere lesser. So this capex is generally a long-term, mid-term to long-term capex, so which will enable us to make our turnover more than double. So about 2 to 2.5%, 2 to 2.5 times capacity we can increase with that over a period of 3 to 4 years time.
Understood. So sorry, very limited time. Please.
Just to complete that, in terms of time period, the buildings are all ready. We are moving in now slowly, and some part of it is operational. So in another quarter's time, it will all be 100% operational.
Got it. Okay. So I have maybe 30 seconds. HPDC, how confident are you worst is behind us?
Yeah, it is. Worst is almost behind us, and we have a lot of traction to get new businesses. And once we start kicking in those, I think we are good to slowly build that back to profits. And electronics is all doing good. So I don't see any reason why we should be worried about it.
All right. Thank you so much, sir, for coming in, speaking to us. Dinesh, it was a good conversation. I mean, viewers, if you just kind of break up the entire conversation, you'll get a sense of thank you so much, sir, what the outlook for FY27 is, what the outlook for FY28 is. You'll have to break that up and get a sense as to how margins will likely evolve. But broadly, it's an upward trajectory from here in terms of margins. That's really the sense that we're getting based on the commentary, and that's going to be the key number to look out for. But completely timed out on this edition of All About Your Company. Thanks so much for tuning in.